In this video we'll recommend you the video game Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I will talk about things that you might not know, the story, similar video games, strategies, bosses, 100% completion, achievements and much more. Stay until the end. Without any further ado, let's start! Ash, start the hologram. Sorry, Ash is fanatized with this kind of art. Now yes, start the hologram. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, sometimes also abbreviated as Ori 2 or just WOTW, is a Metroidvania video game. It was released on March 11, 2020. There is a predecessor to this game called Ori and the Blind Forest, which was released on March 11, 2015. The game was created by Moon Studios and was published by Microsoft Studios. It was made in the Unity game engine. Other popular games made with Unity are Hollow Knight, Cuphead, Subnautica, and Genshin Impact. Something you may not know about this game is that the characters are actually 3D, and the game was rendered through a 3D pipeline. In Ori and the Blind Forest, 3D characters were also made, which were later converted into 2D characters. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is available for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. To understand Ori and the Will of the Wisps genre, we'll use this graphic. I'm going to put it in the Metroidvania section, since it has unlockable abilities, paths to take that require obtaining these abilities, and other characteristic elements of Metroidvania game. Ori is a single-player game, although it does have an online leaderboard in the Spirit Trials. There are no internal or external purchases in Ori and the Will of the Wisps, though there is a package called Definitive Edition available for Ori and the Blind Forest. In this other graphic we can see some similar games like Ori and the Blind Forest, Hollow Knight, Guacamelee 1 and 2, Axiom Verge 2, and the upcoming Hollow Knight Silksong. Now we'll use this other graphic to see what types of players will enjoy Ori and the Will of the Wisps the most. I'll put Ori between the Achievers and the Explorers sections. I don't think Ori has more of one or the other, as it has an immersive open world with many NPCs and stories to discover, and it also has quite a few things to complete and collect. Since it doesn't have an online mode, it can't fit in the Killers or Socializers categories. On difficulty, I'll use this last graphic to determine how well balanced it is. I think Ori and the Will of the Wisps fits quite well in the flow zone, as the progression curve is pretty smooth. The only thing to note here is that the bosses are relatively difficult, but with the right weapons, spirit shards, and strategies, they can be beaten in a couple of tries. Both Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps are rated E for everyone. The minimum requirements to play Ori and the Will of the Wisps on a PC are a Windows 10 Plus Intel Core i5, 4460 or equivalent, 8GB of RAM, and a graphics accelerator such as Nvidia GTX 950 or integrated graphics acceleration such as AMD R7 370, and at least 20GB of disk space, according to Steam. As for the story of this game, it starts in Ori and the Blind Forest and progresses further in Will of the Wisps, so it happens between the two games, but essentially you play as Ori, a spirit guardian, and live in the Nibel Forest. Ori was adopted by Naru, who will from now on be Ori's adoptive mother. Everything goes well until one day a storm causes the forest to wither and stop producing food, which causes Naru's death. Ori will proceed to gather the elements of water, warmth and wind to restore the forest. In Will of the Wisps, Ori starts again with Naru, who was resurrected by a shimmering light vessel from the Forlorn Ruins, Gomo and Ku, the old daughter of Kuro, the main villain of the first game. A disastrous flight leads to Ku and Ori splitting up and getting lost in a forest called Niwen. With the death of the Spirit Willow, Seir, the light of the Spirit Willow, split into 5 wisps, leaving Niwen vulnerable to the decay. Ori's mission in this game will be to collect these 5 wisps to restore Seir, and consequently the Niwen forest, as well as reunite with Ku. One of the main new mechanics of this game are quests. By completing quests, you can progress through the main story of the game, as well as do side quests to obtain Spirit Light or other interesting items. As for the bosses, there are 6 bosses in Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The first boss in the game is Hall, a giant wolf that you'll find in the first area of the game, the Inkwater Marsh. The best way to deal with him is to hit him with the torch and then return to the wall to avoid getting slashed by his paw. Once Hall reaches half health, he will flee. Next we have the Horn Beetle, located in the Quolox Hollow area. It's like an oversized version of a hornball. The Horn Beetle can jump, charge at you and create a fiery shockwave that you must jump to avoid. Hitting it in the front won't be effective. To damage it properly you'll have to hit it from the back. Well everyone, that's all for now. See you in a few days with the next part.